Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Tales from the Cottage. I'm narrator Rebecca McKernan, and today I'd like to share with you the latest offering from Martin Schiller. Now, Martin and I have been working together for many years, and this is the second series I've recorded for him. Our Man Adelaide is the series, and The God of Eight Banners is book 5. Book 5. And we're just a few short books. Well, they're not that short. They're quite long. A few books away from the conclusion of this series. I won't say how many books because these things are liable to change. um, but I think book 5 is my favourite so far. The books should be read in sequence, but let me read to you the back. It is 1937. Having seized Manchuria, Japan is invading the rest of China, and Adelaide de Marcy and her lover William Wentworth are doing what they can to aid the imperial war effort. But General Bushido has another mission for them, to travel to Nazi Germany and there help dissidents to smuggle influential Jews out of the country and into Japanese-held territory where they will be resettled. Yet one of these Jews has disappeared, a brilliant metallurgist. Metallurgist? I did have to Google that when I read it. He has spent years analysing the samples from the Valley of Death, and they must find him before the SS can use his knowledge to create weapons of terror beyond anything mankind has ever known. So if you haven't read the previous books in this series, it's sort of Avengers style, female-led spy action drama. Martin always really heavily researches his books, so there's a lot of history in there as well, but it's a play on history, it's not real history. A lot of it is real history. I'm just going to read some more because apparently my ad-libbing isn't too good this morning. I'll read you the first few pages of the book. Again, I would go back to book 1 if you've not read any of them, because it might not make too much sense for you. It's an ongoing conversation between two characters, so you don't want to drop in partway through that. Prologue. This is the first few pages of the prologue. Mendocino County, California, United States, 11 June 1973. First, the good news, Adelaide began. Kitiara and Naoshi were wed, and with Sakamoto's blessings. Given how dissimilar they were, it was no surprise that they were attracted to one another, and frankly, I could not think of a better match. Yes, I can see that, Georgina replied. And now the bad news. Their marriage came just in time, for in 1920 Sakamoto passed away, and Tatsuo followed not long after. Oh, how terrible! Her guest exclaimed. You must have been devastated. I was, Adelaide confirmed, but the clan survived, and now she became its leader, with Kitiara as his helpmate. So it seems that the kami, knowing what was to come, were watching over us. There was more, though, for in 1922 Japan finally withdrew from Siberia. The Shibuya Shupe was over, and with it any dreams of establishing a vassal state in Russia. The whole adventure soon became a mark of shame, and today very little is written about it. Even so, Bushido returned to Japan with his reputation intact and was promoted to general. And Fujito and Raichi? Adelaide smiled wryly. Despite his dislike of being an officer, Raichi stayed in the military and advanced his career. He was eventually awarded the rank of major. As for Fujito, he became a trainer for the army and then took his place in the Osamu clan, where he served as Naoshi's right-hand man. And see? Adelaide's expression darkened. He died in 1923. He was at home when it happened, and his death was quite sudden. Although he and I had become estranged, I still mourned his passing, and sent flowers to his funeral. He was succeeded by Sir Hugh Quex Sinclair, and then by Sir Stuart Graham Menzies. Yes, I have heard of them, Georgina confirmed. Did you establish a working relationship with either man? I never knew Sir Hugh, Adelaide confessed, nor did I have any direct dealings with Sir Stuart. Yet he still managed to create a great deal of trouble for me, and I despise him for it, even to this day. You despise him? Yes, and that is a part of my tale, Adelaide replied. Now, to continue. Despite the great distance that separated us, Sir Thomas and I maintained a regular correspondence with one another, and in 1925 he wrote to inform me that his mother had finally taken her own life in a quiet and dignified ceremony, surrounded by her loved ones. Oh my God! Georgina exclaimed, her hand flying to her mouth. My dear, she did give ample warning, Adelaide reminded her, and according to Atalan law, it was her right. Yes, I suppose that it was, her guest conceded, but still. Meanwhile, the world spun on, Adelaide continued, and in 1925, Benito Mussolini assumed power in Italy. From here on, fascism would become a force to be reckoned with, and nowhere was this made clearer than in Germany, when Adolf Hitler was elected Chancellor in 1933. My dream of the spider flags had become a reality, and the swastika, which up to this point in history had been a fairly obscure and benign symbol, became an object of both fear and awe. As for Asia, the Empire of Manchuria, or Manchukuo, as historians now refer to it, ended its second year of existence. It had been established in the hope of creating a modern, prosperous state that was friendly to Japanese interests, while offering stability to a China torn apart by civil war. But rather than embracing their good fortune and perceiving the obvious benefit of a buffer state between themselves and the Soviet Union, the Chinese, in their boundless ignorance, chose the path of aggression instead. Adelaide's cheeks were flushed, and her eyes possessed a fire that until now had not been evident. Thus, Japan had no choice but to declare war, she stated, and reluctantly invaded them in 1937, if only to spread the vision of a greater Asia, free of strife and foreign interference. Naturally, Mr. Wentworth and I understood our patriotic duty, and we immediately lent what assistance we could to this noble endeavour. I am so very sorry, Dame, Georgina interrupted. But when I heard about this in school, I was led to believe that the Marco Polo Bridge incident was instigated by Japan and as a pretext for war. Nonsense, Adelaide bristled. Pure nonsense, written by Western historians in order to justify their blatant Nipponophobia. The Chinese were the culprits, and we only did what we had to. Yes, of course, Dame. Now, to continue, Adelaide said irritably. So that was the first couple of pages, the prologue of Our Man Adelaide, book 5. Book 5, the God of Eight, the God of Eight Banners, written by Martin Schiller. You can listen to the whole book on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, I believe. I will confirm that actually. I'll pop the Audible link below, and I will be bringing you more shortly. Thank you for listening. I'm Rebecca McKernan, and I wish you well. Mwah.